Hello and welcome back. The last time we worked on virtual doctype, we were able to successfully get the list to display. This time around, we are going to work on viewing the properties and see how we can work on adding new properties and updating the property in the virtual doctype. Once more, my name is Anthony Emmanuel, and if you haven't really subscribed to the channel, you can subscribe so you can get latest updates. So please click the bell button. Um, First thing, we're going to dive into making this property show up in the form. Now, when you kind of click this property, it does not show up. Shows this not found, for not found. To debug this, we can have a look at the bench, the terminal, and zoom this little to know what the issue is. So we have this deferred insert reports. We tried working on the report to get this count, and okay, we got no details here to know why we get this the Django property not found, or sorry, this page not found. So I think so kind of reload this page. I'm going to check again. Yeah, here is a culprit. Think here is a culprit. We have this text form. So API slash method slash frappe.desk slash form slash load this. Might have to try loading this to see what we get. So I strongly suspect that this text is the problem or is the issue. Yeah. So we're getting a 404 page not found here. So we are going to access this file frappe text form load. Let's see. Frappe desk. And in the text, we are going to access form. Have a look at it again. Frappe desk form. Text form. Okay, and in the form, what do we have? Frappe desk form. Think load should be where we have to check. Think there's something called execute. Not execute, but let me check very well to be sure. Yeah, I think here is the issue. The issue we are having is this line in particular. This line, I think you see it passed a doc type. It tries to check if the doc type exists. If not frappe.db exists, doc type name, return this blank. So since it returned blank, that's why we kind of have this 404 not found issue. So this is but it's going to pass this doc type. The doc type in itself is okay. Let's try printing this doc type to be sure we are not wrong. We are index loads. Gonna add new line. Restart the server and reload this page. So, seems the server is still coming up. Okay, page reloaded. We can check the terminal to see if we get. Now we got something here. Django property. That's, you can see what we typed, the doc type, the doc name, and this string of text. So it says Django property is the doc type. The doc name is test property, as we can see from this URL. The doc type is Django property. The doc name is test property. Then this string of text and new line, so we can get a demarcation to show us what we printed. I think we can actually resolve this in this place too. I don't know the long-term effect of this, but it's just a temporary solution. I wouldn't encourage you to use virtual doctype in production for the now until we are very certain. So what I should do here is just pass this is virtual frappe.db.exists doctype. Person I'm passing is the name, doctype. Then the is virtual to check if such doctype. So if it is virtual, we want to keep this error that it shows true. This should be it. Then we check if is virtual. If that exists, if it's virtual, then sorry about that. It should be if. Hope I have not messed this up. If not, I think the first thing I have to do is to check if this doc type does not exist. So let's say if the doc type exists itself, that should if frappe.db.exists doc type, that is the Django property, and the name itself, name. So if this exists, we should definitely get this, we true false. So once it is not false because it does not exist, we get it as true here. And not is virtual. So not true false, not false true. So we can return this. So this line of code should solve the problem. We'll have to check if it is virtual. But once that doc type comes, is virtual becomes true, right? Then we also check that this also exists in its own table. So this should return true because first we get false, then return the false as true. So if true and what not this should solve it. Let me kind of check it out first. Let me review the code once more. If not property.db.get.type, this should give us true. If not, so here will be true, and here not is virtual. So this should give us this should return true. So true, not true, false. So true and false should return false. Then we get this out. So I might have to reload. Okay, reloading. That seemed not to work, so we have to check back on the codes to know what the problem is. Okay, I think I have a mistake here. This should be uppercase T, doc type. That should be the culprit. It's time to reload. Control R. Okay, I think our problem has been resolved. Excuse me. Now we are able to view the document. You can click on the document and you should be able to view it. So right here, right now, we have an empty document list, and never mind, we get to that to see how we can, solve that. But I think for the now, the issue has been kind of resolved for the now. So the 404 is gone completely. The next thing is to load the component of this document in here. To do that, first off, we have to work on the server we used. That's the Django server, Python Django server. So we worked on view property at first. So this time we're going to work on that is worked on property list. This time around we are going to work on property detail. We have to duplicate this. Paste it down here. We call it property detail. So here is a list view to show all the items. Here is a detail view to show just the information about the doc we intend to retrieve. So I get a web request, then the ID of the document or the document name we intend to retrieve information for. I have to pass this in, try and accept block. Just like we did before, there should be property I dot get field for I in. So here we have to run a proper filter. Objects dot rather than all, I filter, then pass the name directly into it. Name is assigned name. So this should get the property for us. And that should be all. In this exception block, the stock is assigned JSON dot loads. Just empty, should return empty data set. So I might have to print this property to see what I get. Then make a URL for it. So make the URL for the property detail as well. Here, here, here. But there's a clause here passing the name. And that's it. Okay, time to test out our URL. Since the server is down, I have to restart the server. There's an issue. Should be a comma here. And the server should restart here. Successfully restarted. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. This is not correct. Property. Okay, properties not defined. So I have to check where the issue is. Should be in that return statement. Properties. Here should be property. Yeah. So we got the data sets we are interested in. This. You can also test that out with Python requests. from our bench server, bench console. Okay, so that worked perfectly. Next off is to work on the excuse me, is to work on the Frappe itself. We can close off this dex loads, close it off completely. This Frappe dex. Go back to our custom app, the doc type, the Python, that is the server side of things. The load will be gotten from this load from DB. That's where we get in data to fill this form. Recall earlier talked about this load from DB. I said this from DB does two things. First off is works when the list is loaded. It also works when the item itself is loaded. I'm going to demonstrate that here. Print. So when the get list works, this load from DB works. When the item is loaded or the doc type is open, or sorry, the document is open, this get list stops working, but this load from DB still works. Okay, this has loaded now. We can check the terminal to see what was printed. Now you see Django property demonstration, and we called it in this load from DB. Next off, it's time to open the property and see what happened once you open the property. You see again the document was printed, the content was printed again. You see it here when the list was open, and here when the document was open as well. So what we should do is look for a way to work in this part such that it is only sorry, we handle both document loading and list loading. So for the now, I'm going to implement the document loading inside here. So start off with that. The first I'm going to type this: if self.name is not equal to self.doctype. What this does, once it loads, first when this loads this list, what shows is self.doctype. I think I might have to demonstrate that for better understanding. What's this? Grab this code. Self.name. You might have to print self.doctype. Yes, self.doctype. Yeah. So I have to demonstrate that. Now we've loaded the list, we can check what was printed out to us. So the doc type, we check what we printed out. Print doc type, the doc name. So loading the list, we have the doc type is Django property and the doc name as well. The name is also Django property. But when this document is loaded, you get something entirely different. Now you get doc type Django property. The doc name is test property. So what I intend to do here is have this. if the name is not equal to the doc type, just like when the list was loaded, the name is equal to the doc type. But when the document got loaded, the name is not equal to the doc type. So if this is true, if the name is not equal to the doc type, then I intend to make a, a Python request, sorry, web request, request.get. So in here, self.get URL. Then the URL is property detail slash the name of the property slash and the name here is self.name. Because self.name printed this out for us. Self.name printed this out for us. So that's gonna be passed into this Python web request. That's it. If response dot status code equals to 200, that means successful. Then data is assigned. I have to cut this short. The data will come back in this format. We also grab the data in this format and it shows in this format. So I intend to grab this by passing 0 to it. 0 we grab this dictionary from the content or data that was returned. So I'm going to kind of look through here for key, comma, value in so 0 will pull out this dictionary inside this list. Then the key is this against this, this against this, this against this. For key comma value in this dot items, because it's a dictionary. Then I'm using a Python property called set attributes. The attributes, we are trying to set property of self. Don't know how I'm going to explain this, but okay. Now, when we pull out the key property, it will look through, it will get name, property, first time, goes to the second time, get title, test title, the third time, gets content, test content. Then this self itself is the entire document here. So we have self.title, self.content, self.property. So that's all we have. This the self is the class document, this class document. Now the self has a property, and the property is what? The key. The key can be title, the key could be title, name, content, property. So we get this document, we set the attribute we are looking for, then the content we intend to set or pass, that's the value. And this should take care of loading the document content. So we're gonna test that when we start the server and reload this to see if our method worked. So let's review the code while the server loads. So first off, we kind of check if we are not on list. This checks that we are not on list view, that we are in form view. Once this is true, it takes us to the form view. Inside the form view, we make a Python request to this other server down here, to this server down here. It locates the property that was clicked, then pull everything entirely from here using this method we define here, this view method we define here. Once it pulls it, it checks that the status is returned is 200. Once that is done, we kind of look through it. We grab the item from, because we return a single dictionary value inside the list. Then we look through the key and the value. Each time we go into the key and the value, we set the document itself, the properties. If it sees title, it goes to title. It sees title, it sets the value of title. It goes back, see content, sends value of content, owner, sets value of owner. So this is kind of a Python inbuilt functionality. So that's it. We can reload this property to see if our code works. Okay, we got this invalid syntax error. That should be easy to trace. So you can check. So here is the error. So easy to trace. Equal to 200. That should resolve that. I think I got an error. I don't know if it displays kind of an error. There was an error in the code here. The error has to do with. Okay, I just said it now. This was item, but it should be items. Okay, now the content has actually loaded. You see the title loaded itself, the text content loaded, the property that was selected loaded. We can check that from the browser console to be sure that the content was loaded. I'm gonna clear this current form dot stock. And we can see exactly the content was retrieved from that server and set. We have the creation time, the doc status, the doc type itself, the modified by name, owner, property title. Think the IDX wasn't returned. That's not really important for the now. We can always fix that later, but let me check that. IDX. Okay, the IDX is blank anyway. But if I set an IDX, and let me set an IDX, hope I'm not looking for trouble. Okay, the IDX has been returned. You can see it here, it says 0. I might have to set that to blank. So that's it. Now we can test again to be sure everything works fine. Okay, that's one bit in. Next up is how about updating this document? Right now, you can't update this document. You definitely get an error. Let me kind of change this and save. You get an it's not saved anyway. This is not saved because if you reload this document, you would not get this uh G or Q. You wouldn't get it. So let's see that. Let's go back and kind of reload this. It should not be there. You see, so it was not saved. So how do we update this document? Okay, that is done right inside this DB update. So that's where we update. Record just the way we passed this document is where we pass the update as well. So and here's how we update. First, before updating, I may have to prepare the information for update. Then after preparing that information for update, I can now post it to the other side of the server. And that's how we go about it. First off, I'm going to prepare the data. D is assigned, grab this up here. That is the data. Is assigned this. It's not necessary you use D, but that's kind of a convention. Then I intend to print this D to see what it contains. Update sets on pass the first, then update set. So I have to, may not necessarily reload it anyway. The server should be loaded now, so I might have to run an update here. Inside this text content, save. Okay, say save. So we'll check the terminal to see if we got the data. So we got it here. See update set, we just passed that as code and the data to be posted or to be updated. Then we check that text content, the content, you see the data passed. But recall that this has not been updated because it has not hit this server down here. It has not hit this server down here. You can still check the content, text content will remain the same. So one way to go about that is to go back to this server and write a method for update. Here, I intend to use one method for both update and add new documents. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write it out to see what we get. Define, I'll call it a property. Um, I call it property creates. Okay, call it property creates requests. This request is just a Python request, a web server request that carries the authenticated user and some information about the web sessions. So we have something called if requests dot methods is equal to posts. I think I may have to pass this and import it. I do not want to spend my time formatting the cross-site request for tree because this is just a tutorial. I can do that in your production. So this will avoid the CSRF cross-site request for tree. The request.method is post. So I intend to get the name out first to see what I get. The name is requests.posts. Request.posts.get name. Tend to get the name out. At the end of it all, I return a return JSON response. This response here is a flag when it fails, so when there is issue. That's not the final code. I create a URL for it down here. Okay, this should be it. So I'm going to test this URL out using the Python request. But this becomes a post request, not a guest request. So it has a URL, this URL where we are posting the data to this URL. Then the data to be passed to that post method as well. The data should be passed as a dictionary. Don't tell us that server is not available, and you can see an issue here. Server is not available because of a little issue in the views just down here. Should be a comma here. Let's see what we get. Response or status codes 404. So page not found. We're going to check out the URL we used. Property create. Oh, sorry. We should not be passing this. It does not have any parameter. That's wrong. Okay, 200. That is successful. We can check out that server to see. Now we got it. Name equals to property, and that is coming from this line of code print. It means that our response or our kind of web requests are checked out successfully. So from here on, we can actually try to pass our codes. So I'm going to kind of complete the Frappe side of things first. I'm going to complete the Frappe side of things here. I get rid of this print statement. Make a post get request, a post request here. Post. So this becomes property create. Then the data to be passed, data. This you see here is not a dictionary. What got printed out here for us. This is not a dictionary. You might try printing that out to see, so to see that it's not a dictionary. So we're going to convert it to a dictionary here as a data. The data is assigned. I have to break this down. Dict. And the dict gets passes D. So that should be all. I might have to try to print this too for you to see the type of data it returned. What I did here is to show you what type this data is. And here I converted it to dictionary to also show you what it is. So you don't convert it to dictionary, you have a difficult passing it to this request, this Python request. So that's just it. We get a response. So whatever we return our response.json. So this should push the update to the server. So while I restart the server, I'm also going to work on the other side of things, the Django part of things, to complete this code here. Okay, before I continue that, the server should be ready, so I might have to try and update. see what we get from it. So here you see the first type is Frappe Dict, and this one is dictionary from this print statement over here. Yeah, this gives us Frappe Dict, and this is dictionary. So that's it. So we dive straight into the Django side of things. So first off, I use my try and exception block in case something happens. So first is property. We have to retrieve the property. We use our property model, property dot objects dot get name is assigned what this name retrieved here. Okay, so let me comment this. Use any need. Yeah, name is assigned name. No problem about that. Here I can add a pass. I intend to see what Frappe posted to this server, so I'm going to print out the full content Frappe posted to this server. Okay, so let's post an update to see what we get. Save. Okay, so that server is down. We have to check exception. We set the session as E. I passed it correctly. From video view import line 34 views. Invalid syntax except exception as E. Line 34. Try. Let's see from here. Okay, this was not closed. This is Django side of things, so it's affected us here as well. Okay, so we can check what we got from the other side of the server. Yeah, here is the what we got. So we got this post. You can see it. Name, property, owner, administrator, creation, modified. All the content was successfully posted to this server. But we cannot manually try to get this out, get name, get owner, get this. That would be strenuous. The best thing to do here is to create a form that will handle that. So I'm going to create a new file in here, call it forms.py, not forms, forms.py. So in there from Django, Django.forms, import model form. This should be uppercase model form. Then the model itself, this model we created, we import it as well from dot models. Import this. Then we create a form class and we give it a property form. It takes model form. It inherits from model forms. Here we have another class to define the meter components, meter. So the model is property. Fields. The field should be all. So the system will automatically handle all the fields. I think this is done. This is done. So I can actually import this into the view. Let's be sure that there's no error. If there's an error, this server wouldn't be running. So in here, I can actually grab the form itself. So here I call it posts or form. What I did was to retrieve the property from the database. Once I retrieve that property, then I use it inside. That once the property is retrieved, we use it inside the form. So I can use the form here. Then I pass request.posts. So I'm going to explain this line of code once I'm done typing. Then in the exception block, we just have this. Then we look for data to return. I think we are done. So what I did here was comment this line out. Once data is posted to this server here, in this try session block, the try block we try to grab the name. It used this name we grabbed here to look for information from the database base on this line 34. Once that information is found, then it means that it will just run an update. It will post the entire form contents. The instance is the what exists in the database to replace the entire content with the new content here and save. But why trying to run this if the name is not found, an exception will be thrown, meaning that it is new information that is posted into the database. So the new information will just be saved using this form. And okay, because this form.save to just be saved, and that's all. Then at the end of the day, we'll return that entire information that was saved back to the calling server. That's what we did here. We get the information, return it. This executes if the method is not a post request. So we can try to check our server here if there's error. So I think no error. I can try that out from our Frappe end of things. My awesome Frappe Virtual Doctype. So if there's an error, we'll get an error here. Yeah, JSON.decode error. So we can also check to know where it's coming from and check this other server to see if it got the error from the other server. Yeah, so the error is here. So name post is not defined in line 36 post create. So we can check that. Line 36. Yeah, here. Exactly. So that's one of the issue. Let's try that again. Okay, saved. So we can check the database, the server, to see if this content changed. Wow. So you see the content changed. You see the time it was changed. It was created on 18th and modified on 20th. You see that at 04:43:21. You see the time here 0:43. Now, how about creating new document? Now we see that the update is working. I can actually try to change this title, the property. Let me change this property to a different property. 118. How about change this title? Save. You can check that. You see the title here changed, and this property also changed to 180. So how about trying to go back to the list and see if everything worked fine? You see that's what we got here. New title, you open it and you got the information quite complete. Now, how about creating new documents? Not just updating, creating new document. How do we go about that? We've already solved that issue in this property create in the Django server. So creation, this first side we take care of creation, this second side we take care of updates. So all we have to do is work on the Frappe side of things. So DB insert takes care of the updates. For the DB insert, we don't have much to do. All we just have to do is grab this line of code. I think yeah, you can just grab this one here. It should be enough. And drop it here. So request.post self.get property create. That's I think that's all we need. How do I get this? How did I get this? Okay, this closes of this. I was wondering how it came about. So that's all. Then we return this. So this we just kind of pick the new information that was created, send it to that server, and that's all. So now we start the server. At the end of this, some of these prints we have to comment it out, so we don't have end up having prints everywhere. Server is ready. We can test that out. New document, second property, still testing. I hope we get no error. So we got some kind of error, and that should be on the other side server. So what do you get? The property could not be created because data did not validate. So we'll check why the data did not validate. Self.model does not exist. Models property does not exist. Machine property machine create does not exist. Line 34. This was supposed to be hidden in a child exception block. Okay, we're still gonna try that. So property. New property, second property. Test. The one way to get what the issue is, because the issue is coming from this other server, is to try to print this form, what was saved. Shit, like this. Print form. Let's print the form contents. This will print an HTML form, and if there's a validation issue, we'll get it from the validation. So I'm going to send this again. Okay, the form content has been printed down. We see the name, title, content, property, IDX, owner. Oh, okay. There's an error list from it, and it says property with this owner already exists. Input. It means that I am kind of having double unique in my models. So I'll have to correct that. Owner. Now you see this double unique, unique here, unique here. So that's going to cause an issue. It means only the owner can only have one document in this system. So we'll have to force migrate again. We activate the environment. Yeah, we activate. I turn manage.py. Make my operations property. Migrate. I think this should resolve the issues. It should resolve it. So we're going to try that once more. Yeah, okay. Something else is popping up, so we check that to know what the issue is. Mhm. Error again. Property with this modified already by existing. Modified by, oh, we still have that somewhere here again. Modified by, we still have the unique appearing here. So I have to check this completely to be sure this issue doesn't repeat. Should have only one unique here, and the unique should be the name. Okay, hope it works this time. Okay, that's saved this time, so I have to comment out that block so we don't have print filling up the screen. So we're able to successfully add new document. You can check the document list or the list. You see that's created just now. You can check that from this admin, from this view here. You can see that we just added now. You see it's added now. So let's see how it displays on our pop list. Okay, there's an issue here. You see the newest one shows down. Let's try to add one more document. Third title, test. Go to the list. It should refresh by itself automatically. And now you see the last one is also at the very bottom, and that shouldn't be the case. I think that should not be the case at all. So we might have to kind of rewrite our code. The code that retrieves that property list, it should be the first one. So here I'm going to add something here. Dot order by minus creation. Like Frappe, sometimes Frappe orders by modified, but I'm just going to order it by the date it was created. Upside down, I think is it descending or ascending order. So now we see it has been reordered by the newest. So I'm going to add a new property. Let's check the lists. Ah, I'm kind of double clicking. I don't know why. I don't know why that happens. So I'm double clicking. You can refresh this and you see the newest shows up at the top. And that's it. We can also update. Let me update this last one. Save. You can check this here and you see it complete. Open this last one to see the content you see. Correctly updated and was created by administrator. Is if any other user kind of log in and modify this, you should also see it here. I think we've kind of covered a lot in this virtual doc type. There's still a lot to cover, but for the now, you must have gotten some kind of slight understanding about it. You can try your print and it should work. Yeah, you should be able to customize a print format for it as well. So you can kind of play with it around a little bit to see what you get. So in summary so far, what we did was to create an app entirely different from Frappe. We used a different framework, Django web framework. You can build any app. It's not just Python. You can build any app entirely. You can retrieve your data from JSON and XML. But why I refuse to retrieve my data from a JSON file is because I just wanted to explore something more. I wanted us to interact with a server rather than a flat file. So that was why I did it. So I had to build a quick app using this web framework. And that's what we have here. Just a very quick app. We built few things, the models that stores information set from our Frappe server, the views that kind of displays the portal, the forms we use to save for when it comes from online, the URL for mapping the views to a link, and the admin for displaying how it shows at the desk side of things, and some other few things like that. That's what we did by building this little app. Then we were able to, connect our Frappe system doc type to it. Recall in the doc type, you can also, do um, your normal custom scripting, form scripting. It still works very fine with no issue. So you get that working right. What we did the server side of things. We're able to insert document using this DP insert. Also, we're able to load document once clicked from the list. Once document is clicked from this list, we're able to load it using this. Then this is kind of updating documents by adding more information and updating, and that automatically updates that same document on the end side of things. And we did all this using an API. Then we're able to get the list to display. And this is all we have to space for now. I hope you kind of understand. If you still have more questions to ask about this, you can drop a comment in the section box below and I'll be glad to answer your questions relating to virtual doc type. Thanks for your time and do have a wonderful time watching this video. And please remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed so you can get new updates.